Protecting Children from Online Sexual Exploitation. A Guide to Action for Religious Leaders and Communities. The rapid development of information and communications technologies, or ICTs, and the advent of the Internet have introduced an entirely new dimension to the sexual exploitation of children. All forms of violence against children, including online sexual exploitation, are unacceptable and a direct assault to the inviolable, inherent dignity of every child. So what are the major threats to children online? Child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, depicts acts of sexual abuse material and/or focusing on the genitalia of the child. Computer or digitally generated child sexual abuse material. These are materials with artificially created child representing in a sexual activity or in a sexualized manner. Online grooming for sexual purposes means communicating with a child over the internet with one intention. These are to establish a relationship with a child to facilitate either online or offline sexual contact. It also may include manipulation or incitement to take part in different forms of exploitative or abusive sexual activities, such as performing sexual acts in front of a webcam, or the production of child sexual abuse material or self-generated sexual materials. Sexting refers to the process by which someone intentionally shares sexually explicit messages, images, or self-generated sexualized images of themselves. There are also many cases of unwanted sexting. This refers to the non-consensual aspects of the activity, such as lack of consent in sharing or receiving sexually explicit photos or messages. Sexual extortion, also called sextortion, is the blackmailing of an adult or a child with the help of self-generated images of that person in order to extort sexual favors, money, or other benefits from him or under the threat of sharing the material beyond the consent of the depicted person. This particular form of sexual exploitation transcends national borders, as offenders can be located anywhere, even in a different country from their victims. The effects to child victims. For short-term effects, child victims of sexual abuse can exhibit regressive behaviors, for example thumb-sucking and bedwetting in younger children, sleep disturbances, eating problems, behavior and/or performance problems at school, and an unwillingness to participate in school or social activities. For long-term complications, emotional and physical symptoms such as immune deficiency, chromosome erosion and missing brain tissue, or might even commit suicide. The idea of being visually exposed permanently online, ignoring a child's right to be forgotten, can be a traumatic factor for most victims. Faith communities need to be aware of the risks existing online, especially of online sexual exploitation and abuse, so they can serve their followers to the best of their abilities. Child sex offenders are very manipulative, convincing, and persistent in their efforts to exploit children. They take advantage of the internet and online tools to access, lure potential victims, produce child sexual abuse materials, upload and disseminate them. Understanding the demand side of sexual exploitation. Direct abusers or exploiters. Individuals who engage with children in a sexual way to satisfy sexual or abusive drives, desires, and fantasies. Intermediaries supporting demand. Intermediaries facilitate sexual contacts between children and offenders. Underlying level relates to the social, cultural, gender, and institutional constructs that foster the conditions in which the sexual exploitation of children is either ignored, tolerated, or even accepted. Underlying factors: discriminatory gender and wider social norms, power imbalances and racism, poverty and inequality, migration, humanitarian crises and conflicts, a lack of effective legal frameworks and protection mechanisms, and media and advertising practices that contribute to tolerance of the sexualization of children. The role of religious communities in addressing sexual exploitation. Religious assets. Religious communities around the world possess unique religious assets that set them apart and enable them to make unique contributions to address injustices. These assets can also be used to prevent and address online child sexual exploitation. Moral assets. As a religious leader, you are uniquely positioned to use your moral stature and influence to encourage mutual understanding and respect for human dignity within your community. You also have significant influence within your community, which can be harnessed to promote behavioral change through both words and actions. Through extensive networks, religious leaders can help mobilize other religious believers to actively support and engage in action to seek justice. Social assets. These social assets, representing significant channels for communication and action, can enable religious believers to function as powerful agents of change in the protection of children and the promotion of collective well-being. Religious communities represent the world's largest movement. They reach more people than any other organization, including those who are the very hardest to reach. Legitimacy and influence. Faith leaders are influential and trusted and can help to overcome barriers, shaping new behaviors and social norms, while reducing or curbing suspicious behavior. The respect and authority you command enables you to speak out for justice and the protection of children. Transnational communal relations. The religious communities are organized in multiple levels, and this can help in building linkages and strategies to tackle challenges from global to grassroots. Religious obligation to end violence against children. Faith leaders and their communities are compelled to take action to end violence against children. Roughly 5 billion people around the world belong to religious communities, and they have a huge role to play, as well as vast potential for impact. Christians must join together across denominations to fight the abuse and exploitation of children. Ultimately, the Christian Church can act to protect children and those who have been abused or exploited. Creating safe and child-friendly places. Assess and develop child-safe activities and programs. Ensure child-safe recruitment, monitoring and training. Define a child-friendly and child-safeguarding code of conduct. Designate a child protection focal point. Establish procedures for child-friendly incident reporting. Take measures to ensure child safeguarding online and ICT usage. Awareness raising. The faith community can create awareness and help to prevent children from becoming exploited. Religious communities can also focus on raising awareness to prevent people from becoming offenders. Reporting abuse to relevant authorities. Advocating. Spreading information on the risks and consequences of sexual violence, and by supporting local institutions responsible for the protection of our youngest citizens. Interfaith action. The key to working together successfully with other religious leaders or faith-based communities is to initiate, build and sustain a relationship of mutual respect and trust. Training and staying informed. Get more in-depth knowledge and guidance on how to challenge and prevent such exploitation.